So UVA Health, which is one of the top medical centers in the nation, is in the process of conducting a study to test the efficacy of, get this, fluvoxamine, which is an antidepressant, and ivermectin. That's right. They're actually going to be studying and testing ivermectin. Scientists at UVA said the reason the two drugs were chosen is because there have been signs the drugs could be useful. Wow. It's been demonized so much in the news. Oh, horse-based horse medicine. How dare you? Of course, that's a conspiracy theory. It doesn't work. And yet actual scientists at one of the largest health groups in the country says, there's actually some signs that maybe these things work. So let's go ahead and do a study. Wow. All right. Well, the study will use 15,000 participants who must be over the age of 30 years old. They must test positive for COVID-19 within the past 10 days and have at least 2 symptoms like fever, fatigue, body aches, loss of taste or smell. Testing positive within the last 10 days, I think is, that could be a problem for the study. I think it'll be, if they could definitely, parse that out a little bit more and say, okay, people that tested within the first few days, now they're getting ivermectin right away. Because from what I understand, if you give it too late, then it's kind of, it's too late. I mean, the point of the drug, from my understanding, is that it prevents replication of the virus, or it slows down replication of the virus. So, once you're 10 days in, the virus is replicated. So, and that's been the problem with some of the past studies, is that they started the drug too late. So it'll be interesting to see how they end up doing this. But UVA Dr. Patrick Jackson said, quote, if we can find drugs that are currently FDA approved, cheap, and readily available throughout the world, I think that really gets us much closer to being able to turn COVID-19 into a mild illness where people can get therapy, he said. So, yeah, I mean, and that's what people have been saying this entire time when it comes to these drugs is, look, it's better than nothing. And the powers that be left us with nothing. They said, go hide until we get the vaccine. And then when we get the vaccine, you'll be safe. And then we got the vaccine. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, you've got the vaccine, but it turns out it doesn't stop the spread. So you still have to wear a mask. You still have to social distance. You still have to hide away. And then, oh, well, shoot, it turns out it wears off. And so after a few months, you could still end up hospitalized. You could still even die. And so now you need to hide away even more until we find an antiviral. And meanwhile, people have been experimenting with existing drugs. This is just, I don't need to tell you. I'm sure you get it. This has been a giant failure on the medical community, the health community, our government. They should have been trying absolutely everything, going for absolutely everything. And instead, they just put their eggs in one basket and said, no, we're putting it all in the vaccine basket, which was an absolute, we never come out with a vaccine this quickly. So for them to think that, oh yeah, no big deal, we could do it in no time, no problem. And now they're finding out that the vaccine barely works against Omicron. They say, well, it definitely works in reducing hospitalizations and death for Omicron. And it's like, well, but Omicron reduces hospitalizations and deaths. So, anyway, if someone does become part of the study, they will be mailed the medication, and then they have to fill out online surveys to track symptoms for about 3 months. So that's how it's going to work. Jackson said the benefit of this model is that it does not require constant visits to large medical centers, which he hopes will allow for a more diverse and broad population in the study. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, this study, when does it end? How are they going to separate the groups out? Will it be, okay, people, like I said, that got COVID right away and took ivermectin right away, or people who waited 10 days and got the ivermectin later, or the fluvoxamine, or even the combination of both? So it'll be interesting to see how they're conducting this study. One of the other problems we have now that they did vaccine mandates is it makes it really, really difficult to study any new drugs or any new vaccines. I mean, and that's such a huge problem because these vaccines need a lot of work, right? They're not perfect. They're not even close to perfect. So they need work. They need a lot of work. And now it's going to be difficult for them to find unvaccinated people who never took any of the jabs, who they could then give a new and improved vaccine to, like Novavax, for example. Or if, heaven forbid, we allowed the Cuban vaccine, which I think from studying it, it looks like to be actually the best of all of the vaccines. The way that they created it, they didn't base it off of a spike protein. They did it off of a different part of the virus. So it has no real side effects. Not sure how effective it is yet, but still that's better than having a bunch of side effects because it's based on the spike protein. So that in and of itself is a win, is a positive. But it's going to be difficult as time goes on and more people get vaccinated to find subjects to especially since they're trying to vaccinate even infants, you know, they're trying to get the age lower and lower and lower and lower. And then we find out now that the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds really didn't work. I mean, in 1 month, after a month, the effectiveness went down to 12%. And that's against infection. They don't really have much data for children when it comes to severe disease because children don't really get much severe disease. So that data is extremely limited, kind of non-existent. But what they wanted to figure out was if they could vaccinate kids and they wouldn't spread the virus or contract the virus. And they found that after 1 month, 5 to 11-year-olds, it reduced down to 12% effective against contracting the virus, which is within the margin of error, meaning it could be absolutely ineffective entirely for kids. So as they're vaccinating children, they even started clinical trials vaccinating kids as young as 2 years old. And as we continue to vaccinate everybody, making it mandatory, we're just running out of subjects. And then that makes it difficult for these antiviral medications even. So it's not, whether it be fluvoxamine and ivermectin or the IVERMECTIN, whatever it is, it's going to be difficult to find test subjects who are free and clear of any of the other drugs that you could then pump this new thing into to see how effective it is against the virus. That's where we're at with this. So we'll see when this comes out. If one day people who were promoting ivermectin and other treatments that seem to be promising, we'll see if there's some vindication in all of this. Time will tell. That's how it's going to go. All right. Thank you for watching.